My name is Captain Ibrahim Traoré. I do not speak with the polish of career diplomats, nor do I wear the cologne of multinational boardrooms. I was not trained in Washington. I was not groomed in Geneva. I speak from the battlefield, where my people bleed and the soil still remembers. I speak for a nation that has been treated, for far too long, like a debtor's prison, shackled, starved, and silenced. Today, I address the International Monetary Fund, not with trembling hands, not with rehearsed pleasantries, but with a voice forged in centuries of African suffering and now in the flames of African awakening. For decades, the IMF has stood before us like a benevolent doctor, offering prescriptions to nations you call sick. But what we have learned, what we have suffered, is that your medicine often kills the patient. Your loans come wrapped in smiles, but they carry poisoned arrows. You speak of stabilization, yet you deliver strangulation. You promise reform, but demand obedience to models and formulas designed in foreign laboratories, never intended to nourish African soil. But we say today, we are not your laboratory. We are not your experiment. We are not pawns in your economic chessboard. Burkina Faso is waking up. Africa is waking up. And when we wake, we do not ask for permission to breathe. I have not come here to beg for cancellation. I have not come to plead for mercy. I have come to tell you what no African leader has dared to say loudly enough, that we will no longer accept economic policies that reduce our people to beggars, while our gold, our uranium, and our resources fortify the vaults of the West. We will no longer dance to the rhythm of your conditionalities, those demands that dismantle our public services, destroy our agriculture, and drive our youth into exile. We will no longer accept that good governance means handing over our mines, our rivers, our lands, and our future to foreign firms and foreign consultants who speak of progress while stealing everything that matters. From this day forward, we begin a new conversation not between debtor and lender, not between the colonized and the colonizer, but between equals, between sovereign nations, between truth and falsehood. This is not a press release. This is not a diplomatic performance. This is a reckoning. And it begins now with the chains of debt, the modern form of slavery, broken not by permission, but by the will of a people who have finally decided to stand. Let us speak plainly, without euphemism, because the truth is this: what you offer Africa is not a tool for development. It is not a bridge to prosperity. It is a shackle, a modern form of slavery, dressed in suits and spreadsheets, wrapped in contracts and sealed with smiles. You call it structural adjustment, but we call it structural punishment. You label it financial discipline, but we live it as generational despair. You present it as partnership, but when one partner profits while the other bleeds, that is not partnership, that is plunder. So let me ask you, how can a nation rich in gold, uranium, cobalt, and fertile land be poor? How can a continent that powers the industries of the world not afford to feed its own children? We are told it is due to mismanagement, corruption, and incompetence. Yes, Africa has its wounds, but many of those wounds were inflicted by the very hands that now offer us band-aids soaked in interest. You lecture us about responsibility while hiding the scars left by centuries of theft, extraction, and manipulation. Let me tell you what this debt looks like, not in your polished PowerPoint slides, but in real life, on our streets. It looks like children studying by candlelight because our national power grid was privatized, sold off to foreign investors who now charge prices our people cannot afford. It looks like hospitals with broken beds, no antibiotics, and mothers dying in childbirth because your reform conditions demanded cuts in public spending just to qualify for your health loans. It looks like millions of African graduates holding degrees but facing a future with no jobs because the industries that once employed them have been outsourced, sold, or collapsed under the weight of liberalization policies imposed from abroad. And worst of all, it looks like dignity crushed, humiliated, and erased. The repayment plans you design are not economic strategies. They are death sentences. You lend us $500 million, then ask for $2 billion in return through interest, restructuring fees, currency controls, and privatization clauses that rob us of our national assets. And when we question the fairness of this, you say, but the contracts were signed. Let me ask you, is it truly consent when the patient is bleeding and you are the only one holding the medicine with a price tag and a hidden clause? Is it choice when the gun is not pointed at your own head, but at the starving child behind you? number. This is not consent. This is economic coercion. This is not development, it is domination. This is not globalization, it is neo-colonialism in financial disguise. And we, the new generation of African leadership, are no longer blind. We are no longer grateful for crumbs from the tables our labor built. We are done applauding policies that hollow out our economies in the name of efficiency. We will no longer trade our sovereignty for loans that vanish into consultancy firms and reappear as debt for our grandchildren. Let me be absolutely clear. Africa does not owe you. You owe Africa. You owe us for the gold ripped from our soil under colonial boots, for the minerals that power your smartphones while our villages remain in darkness, for the diamonds that dazzled your palaces while our hands bled in silence. But even with all of this, we are not asking for charity. We are demanding justice. And justice begins with the dismantling of exploitative debt structures. Justice means giving African nations the right to audit what we owe, where it came from, and who truly benefited. Justice means restoring our right to chart our own path, to decide our own priorities, and to build a future that belongs to us, not to creditors, not to foreign consultants, but to our people. Because sovereignty is not a line in a loan agreement. It is not something to be traded or leased, it is our birthright. And Africa will no longer ask permission to reclaim it. We are not waiting, we are rising. We must shape our financial futures not as clients begging for favors, but as equals demanding respect. And if this message makes anyone uncomfortable, then good, because it is time the comfortable are confronted. It is time to pull back the curtain on the puppet strings that reveal how the International Monetary Fund undermines African sovereignty. To speak of sovereignty in Africa today is to speak of a dream deferred. We are a continent of flags and anthems, yes, but true freedom remains a question mark. We claim independence, yet independence without autonomy is an illusion. Few institutions have done more to blur the line between self-rule and subjugation than the IMF. You do not govern us, yet you draft our budgets. You do not vote in our elections, yet your approval determines whether our economies breathe or collapse. You claim neutrality, but the ink of your influence runs deep in the laws we pass, the leaders we appoint, and the limits we place on our own ambitions. This is not financial aid. This is political engineering. You arrive with briefcases and blueprints, not bombs, but the damage is often the same. Behind your technical language lies a silent weapon: conditionality. It begins politely: cut subsidies, liberalize markets, devalue currency. They call these recommendations. But what are recommendations when the price of refusal is starvation? What are suggestions when the next loan and the next breath depends on obedience? Let us not pretend. You have become the architects of our internal affairs. We were told structural adjustment would create efficiency, but instead, it created dependency. We were told austerity would eliminate corruption, but it eliminated hope. We were told the free market would lift us, but it lifted our wealth and sent it offshore. When our people protest, when they rise in anger, hunger, and the agony of unmet needs, you do not take responsibility. You step back, claiming to be mere observers. But history is watching, and your hands are not clean. From Ghana to Zambia, from Senegal to Kenya, we have seen the same playbook. Leaders forced to privatize water, only for foreign companies to raise prices beyond reach. Farmers undercut by cheap imports that kill local industries. Ministers ordered to cut school budgets to balance national accounts, even as foreign debt payments rise. And if we dare to resist, if we question your models or reject your prescriptions, we are blacklisted. Our credit ratings are downgraded. Our currencies come under attack. Our leaders are vilified in international media as radicals, unstable, or populists. But what is more radical than forcing a country to choose between feeding its people and repaying debts it never benefited from? What is more unstable than a society where the youth have no future, no jobs, and no faith in politics, because the nation answers the banks before its own people? Let us be honest. Your influence has too often been a veto on our dreams. You have become unelected governors of African policy. Yet we are not merely victims. We are rising. A new wind blows across this continent. We are reclaiming the right to govern ourselves, in our own languages, for our own people, by our own values. We will no longer accept debt that demands cutting essential services before taxing the rich. We will no longer tolerate foreign consultants writing our economic plans, while our people remain unheard and invisible. We will no longer accept debt that demands we/national strategies while our professors go unpaid. We will no longer bow to institutions that answer to shareholders, not to citizens. To the IMF, I say this with clarity and calm. We will be sovereign, even if it means rejecting your loans. Even if it means slower growth, growth that is ours, not borrowed. Even if it means pain for now, but freedom in the long run. Africa does not need masters, it needs partners. And if you cannot walk with us as equals, then step aside. Because we are moving forward, and this time, the strings are being cut. We were born into a system. We did not build a global order forged in the fires of empire, with its spoils carved into contracts, laws, and institutions that still govern us today. When the colonizers left, they did not leave behind fairness. They left behind frameworks built to extract, not empower. The problem is not just the IMF, it is the entire architecture. The rules of trade, finance, credit, and global power, designed to keep Africa in second place. Designed not by God or nature, but by powerful men who decided what value means and who deserves it. Let me ask a simple question. Why is it that we, the continent, with 60% of the world's arable land, still import food? Why do we, who sit atop vast reserves of gold, diamonds, oil, and lithium, still need foreign aid? Because the game was never fair. We were made exporters of raw materials, not builders of industries. We were assigned roles in the global economy like actors in a tragic play. You grow and they process. You extract and they manufacture. You borrow and they lend. And every time we try to rewrite the script, penalties follow. Credit agencies downgrade us. Multinational lobbies threaten sanctions. Tech giants pull out investments. And the media brands us unstable. But what is more unstable than a world where a continent of 1.4 billion people contributes the least to climate change, yet suffers the most? What is more irrational than a system where cocoa farmers and cotton growers who feed the world's sweet tooth cannot afford chocolate? What is more unjust than former colonizers lecturing us on governance while sheltering stolen wealth of African elites in their banks? And yet they call this order a meritocracy. They say work harder. They say be more transparent. They say attract investment. But what they do not say is this: the scoreboard was rigged from the beginning. The rules were never neutral, and the referees, the WTO, the World Bank, the IMF, serve the same teams that have always won. Let me give you an example. When we attempt to support local farmers with subsidies, we are told it distorts the market. Yet the US and Europe spend hundreds of billions on their own agricultural subsidies every year, protecting their farmers and markets with no shame. Every year, wealthy nations pour hundreds of billions into protecting their farmers, calling it protection. But when we try to support our local farmers with subsidies or build state-owned industries to create jobs, we are told it's inefficient. Yet many of the richest corporations in the world were born from state-funded innovation. NASA, war contracts, public research. When we resist exploitative mining contracts, we are branded hostile to business. But what is more hostile than extracting resources worth hundreds of millions while leaving behind nothing but empty promises and free dollars for schools and communities? Africa is not asking for pity. We are demanding fairness, not charity, justice, not handouts, equal footing on the global stage. We are the youngest continent on Earth, yet the global economy treats us like we have nothing to offer but our labor and our land. But our value is not in what lies beneath the soil. It is in our people. I will quote Aimé Césaire, who said, "They say the system works. We say for whom?" It is time to stop playing by rules written without us and start rewriting them in our own image. We do not seek to burn bridges, but we will not walk across those that lead only to more chains. Hear this clearly. We are not broken. The system is broken. And if it will not change willingly, then we, the children of Sankara, Nkrumah, Lumumba, and ourselves will change it. We did not come this far just to survive. We came to thrive, and we will no longer wait for permission or a new past. Sovereignty through self-reliance is our path forward. Now that we have named the injustice, let us speak of rebirth. Africa does not need to beg for inclusion. Africa does not need another savior, another lecture, another condition. What we need is a new path, one carved by our own hands, guided by our own vision, and rooted in our own values. Self-reliance is not isolation. It is not arrogance. It is the reclamation of dignity, the choice to stand on our own feet, even when the ground beneath us trembles. Let me be clear. We are not rejecting partnership. We are redefining its terms. For too long, partnership has meant dependence. It has meant waiting for approvals, grants, and loans while our people starve and our youth flee across the seas. This is not partnership. This is bondage with a friendly smile. So we must build differently. And it starts with 5 core principles. The first principle is simple: feed ourselves first. No nation can claim true sovereignty if it cannot feed its people. How can we speak of independence when a drought in a distant land dictates the price of bread in ours? We must invest in agriculture not merely as a tool for survival, but as a foundation of power. From seed sovereignty to irrigation, from cooperative farming to agro-processing, Africa must rise from subsistence to abundance. Let every village become a fortress of food security, and every farmer a builder of the nation. The second principle is to educate, to liberate. The most dangerous weapon colonialism left behind was not a gun, but a syllabus, a curriculum that teaches us about foreign kings, but ignores our own heroes, that praises foreign philosophers while dismissing African science, innovation, and wisdom. We must rewrite education to raise children who know their worth, who build with purpose, who innovate with pride. Let us teach coding alongside crops. Let our schools become laboratories of freedom. Education must not be about passing exams. It must be about shaping destiny. Third, produce raw materials and finished products here in Africa. Too long we have worn the mask of trade, exporting raw materials only to import finished goods at 10 times the price. It is not enough to own the mines. We must own the means to refine, package, and profit. We must support African businesses, protect our industries, and end our addiction to imports. This is how we create jobs. This is how we keep wealth within our borders. Let the world come to buy from Africa, not to take from it. Fourth, unite or perish. A fragmented Africa is a weak Africa. We cannot negotiate with the world as 54 scattered voices. We must integrate economically, politically, and technologically. Let us build railroads that connect Lagos to Dar es Salaam, data centers that protect our knowledge, and defense alliances that safeguard our peace. Institutions like ECOWAS, SADC, and the African Union must evolve from diplomatic clubs into engines of collective action. No single African nation can stand alone, but together we are a giant. Fifth, trust our people. Too often, our leaders trust foreign advice over local wisdom. They fly thousands of miles to ask questions that their own communities have already answered. But the solutions lie here, in the hands of our youth, our women, and our elders. Let us fund local innovation. Let us amplify village voices. Let us believe that the mechanic in Ouagadougou and the coder in Kigali are just as brilliant as any consultant in Paris. We will not be free until our own people are trusted to lead the future. My brothers and sisters, we are not building a copy of the West. We are building Africa, our Africa. We are not chasing the old dreams of others. We are daring to dream a new dream, the dream of self-reliance. Self-reliance means we may stumble. It means we will make mistakes, but those mistakes will be ours, and through them, we will learn to rise. There is no savior coming. The savior is already here in our hands, in our hearts, in our unity. It is time to stop waiting. It is time to stop blaming. It is time to begin not tomorrow, not after the next summit, but now. Africa will not rise through speeches alone. It will rise through soil-stained hands, ink-stained books, and steel-stained factories. Let us take back what was always ours, not through war, but through will. Not through hate, but through healing. Not through begging, but through building. This is the dawn of self-reliance, and we will never go back to the chains. For I carry the people's mandate. You are not powerless. To my beloved people, young and old, urban and rural, educated and unschooled, you are not powerless. You have been made to believe that power belongs only to men in suits behind microphones, that the future is dictated by those who sit in tall buildings far away, that decisions about your life are made in echo chambers with no windows to your suffering. But let me speak plainly. Real power does not start at the top, it starts at the bottom. It starts with you, the farmer who rises before dawn, the mother who feeds her children before herself, the honest man who refuses to steal even when he is hungry, the girl who walks miles every day for education, the street vendor, the mechanic, the nurse, the tailor, the teacher, the water carrier. You are the foundation. You are the pulse of Africa. Yet here is the tragedy. You have been taught to wait, to hope that change will come from someone else, to clap when crumbs are thrown at your feet, to fear questioning authority, even when that authority fails to protect you. This mindset must end. We must tear down this invisible wall, the one that separates leaders from people, the informed from the unheard, the elites from everyday heroes. True leadership does not rule, it serves. And service without accountability is tyranny in disguise. Why does the system prefer you powerless? The international institutions we challenge today, the IMF, the World Bank, they do not just seek to control governments. They rely on your silence. They thrive when you are too exhausted to resist, when survival distracts you from organizing, when you are taught that politics is dirty and not your concern. But understand this, every price hike, every failed hospital, every land grab, these are political decisions. By not engaging, by not questioning, we become complicit in our own oppression. But once the people awaken, the tide shifts. Once the youth refuse to be silenced, once the mothers speak truth to power, once the elders remember the strength of their voice, no IMF alone, no dictator, no puppet regime can stand. From protest to participation, revolution is not always a fiery explosion. Sometimes it is quiet. It happens when a young person registers to vote, when a market woman refuses to pay a bribe, when neighbors gather to fix a broken road without waiting for the government. This is your mandate, not just to resist, but to rebuild. And to do this, we must reclaim 5 sacred rights: the right to question, to ask why, to ask how, to demand accountability, and to take part in shaping our destiny. Clarity is essential. Whether it is a village chief or a president, authority must answer to you. You have the right to organize, to join hands, create unions, form cooperatives, and stand not as individuals, but as a united voice. You have the right to information, know who owns your land, know where your taxes go. Knowledge is power, and it is your right. You have the right to refuse injustice, refuse manipulation, refuse to be a pawn. Resistance is your sacred inheritance. You have the right to dream, not just of escape, but of change. Envision the Africa your children deserve, and begin building it today. This is not just a fight for government. Yes, leadership matters. Yes, corruption must be purged. Yes, puppet regimes must fall. But a just Africa cannot rise on political will alone. It needs a people awakened, a people who refuse to settle, who will no longer be ruled by fear but led by conviction. You are not spectators. You are co-architects of the new Africa. Every action matters. Every voice counts. Every ripple becomes a wave. To the youth of Africa, you are not the leaders of tomorrow. You are the fire of today. Do not wait for permission. Do not wait for funding. Do not wait until you are older, wiser, or richer. Start now. Speak now. Organize now. Build now. Because if you do not shape your destiny, others will sell it. To the elders, we need your wisdom, not your silence. You have seen regimes rise and fall. You have endured hardship, betrayal, and hope. Now is the time to guide the young, not with cynicism, but with courage. To the mothers, you are the backbone of every revolution. It is in your arms that nations are raised. Do not let the world call you weak. You are the guardians of justice. To every African listening, this is not Ibrahim Traoré's fight alone. This is our shared mandate to demand truth, to reject fear, to build a continent that finally honors the dignity of its people. Power is not something given, it is something realized. And today you must realize you are not powerless. Seek a reckoning that fears your awakening. My beloved sons and daughters of Africa, by now you must understand, we are not in a battle of guns. We are in a battle of narratives, control, and fear. The institutions that chain us, the IMF, the World Bank, or the silent elites who never show their faces, are not afraid of our armies. They are afraid of our awakening. For decades they played their game well. They told the world that Africa was the problem, that we are corrupt, incapable of governance, dependent, primitive, always needing help. They repeated these lies so many times that we began to believe them ourselves. So we begged, we borrowed, we bowed. But in doing so, we forgot who we are. We forgot that Africa is the cradle of civilization, that it was here beneath our skies that the stars were first read. It was our ancestors who taught the world medicine, astronomy, farming, and spirituality. Long before the IMF, there was Timbuktu. Long before colonial aid, there were kingdoms with universities, armies, trade routes, and sophisticated systems of governance that stretched across continents. We were not poor, we were made poor. Let me tell you a truth, they will never publish in any global newspaper. Their power depends on your ignorance, their comfort depends on your silence, their wealth depends on your exploitation. So when you begin to read, they panic. When you begin to organize, they tremble. And when you begin to unite across borders, they conspire. Why? Because a generation of Africans who understand the game, who see beyond the aid packages and debt traps, who refuse to sell their futures for illusions, such a generation is unstoppable. They do not fear your rage. They fear your clarity. They do not fear your weapons. They fear your wisdom. They do not fear your protest. They fear your purpose. The awakening has begun. Look around you. Feel it in your bones. There is a stirring in our villages, a fire in our cities, a hunger in our youth that no IMF policy can extinguish. From Burkina Faso to Mali, from Niger to Uganda, from South Africa to Ethiopia, the veil is lifting. The spell is breaking. This is not just a political shift, it is spiritual, ancestral, prophetic. You are not just living through a revolution, you are the revolution. For years, they extracted our gold, our oil, our diamonds, our cocoa, our uranium, and yet we remain the poorest continent on earth. That is not a coincidence. That is a design. But here's what they didn't expect. That we would wake up, that we would connect the dots, that we would dare to confront them not with hate, but with truth. And truth is the most dangerous weapon of all. This reckoning is not about revenge. It is about justice. It is about restoration. It is about dignity. It is about telling the world, we are your creditors. And now it is time to settle the account. This shift cannot be reversed. Because once the people see the bars of their cage, they no longer mistake it for freedom. Once the people taste sovereignty, they no longer beg for scraps. And once the people remember who they are, they become ungovernable by lies. So yes, expect pushback, expect propaganda, expect infiltration, expect threats, because when an empire begins to lose control, it will do anything to preserve the illusion. But understand this clearly. Their fear is not your signal to retreat, it is confirmation that you're doing something right. This is your time, Africa. This is your moment. Not next year. Not after the next election. Now, you don't need permission. You need purpose. You don't need saviors. You need strategy. You don't need pity. You need power, the kind rooted in unity, history, and unwavering truth. Let every African leader know, if you do not serve the people will rise. Let every foreign investor know, if you come to exploit, you will be exposed. And let every African youth know, your time has come. You are the nightmare of those who hoped we would never wake up. They built empires off our silence, but that silence is now broken. You are the dream of your ancestors finally awake. You are both the warning and the prophecy fulfilled. The chains are breaking. The masters are trembling. The reckoning is here. And their fear of your awakening is the greatest sign that it has begun. Welcome to the age of African reckoning. To every young African hearing these words, to every elder who kept the truth alive through whispered stories, to every mother who prayed over empty plates without losing hope, to every child walking barefoot through dusty roads, dreaming of something greater, hear me clearly. The age has begun. Not with violence, not with hatred, but with truth, with clarity, and with unyielding resolve forged through centuries of injustice. We are no longer begging. We are no longer negotiating for scraps from colonial tables. We are building our own table made of African wood, carved by African hands, for African generations. For too long, our cries were ignored. Our pain was politicized, our suffering monetized, our silence weaponized against us. But now we speak not with bitterness, but with boldness. Not to seek pity, but to demand justice. They thought we were buried, but they forgot we are seeds. Let the world hear this. Africa is not waiting to be saved. Africa is rising to save itself. We are uniting across borders drawn by foreign hands. We are building systems that serve the people, not puppets. We are reclaiming our narratives, our currencies, our futures. Let this declaration echo through every institution built to contain us. We are awake. and we are coming for everything that was stolen. To the youth of Africa, listen closely. You are not lost. You are not too late. You are not forgotten. You are the architects of a continent reborn, not the leaders of tomorrow, the liberators of today. Your weapon is your mind. Your shield is your history. Your compass is your conscience. And your mission is to reclaim, rebuild, and restore the African soul. From this day forward, let no leader speak in the name of Africa while bowing to foreign masters. Let no contract be signed that sells our future for another loan. Let no flag wave in celebration if the people beneath it are starving. We declare a new covenant between land and people, between past and future, between the seen and the unseen. We will honor our ancestors by refusing to repeat their captivity. We will bless our descendants by ensuring they are born into dignity, not debt. This is our sacred duty. And this moment, this reckoning is not about one man or one protest. It is not about a government or a speech. It is a spiritual awakening, an ancestral uprising, a generational fire that cannot be extinguished not by fear, not by force, and not by foreign hands. Let it be written in the hearts of all Africans. We will rise not as victims, but as visionaries. We will forgive, but we will never forget. We will extend our hands in peace, but we will never bow in submission. Africa, remember who you are. You are the drumbeat of the earth. You are the sun before time. You are the womb of humanity. You are the whisper of the ancestors. You are the light of tomorrow. Let the lions awaken. Let the rivers sing. Let the soil rejoice. For we are no longer lost. We are no longer for sale. We are no longer asleep. And so I declare as a son of the soil, as a servant of the people, as one voice among millions, Africa shall rise. Africa shall heal. Africa shall reign not through conquest, but through conscience. Not in revenge, but in restoration. Not by force, but by the unstoppable power of a people who have remembered their name. May the ancestors watch with pride. May the children walk with hope. And may the world bear witness to the rebirth of a continent. So help us, God.